On either side the river lie long fields of barley and rye that clove the wold and meet the sky, and through the field the road runs by to many-towered Camelot. The yellow-leaved water-lily, the green-sheathed daffodilly, tremble in the water chilly round about Shalott.
Willows whiten, aspens shiver, the sunbeam showers break and quiver in the stream that runneth ever by the island in the river, flowing down to Camelot. 4 grey walls and 4 grey towers overlook a space of flowers, and the silent island bowers the Lady of Shalott.
Underneath the bearded barley, the reaper reaping late and early, hears her ever charming cheerly, like an angel singing clearly, o'er the stream of Camelot. Piling the sheaves in furrow airy, beneath the moon the reaper wary, listening whispers, 'tis the fairy, Lady of Shalott.
The little isle is all enrailed with a rose fence and overtrailed with roses by the marge unhailed. The shallop flitteth, silken sailed, skimming down to Camelot. A pearl garland winds her head, she leaneth on a velvet bed, fully royally apparelled, the Lady of Shalott.
No time hath she to sport and play, a charmed web she weaves alway. A curse is on her if she stay, her weaving either night or day, to look down to Camelot. She knows not what the curse may be, therefore she weaveth steadily, therefore no other care hath she, the Lady of Shalott.
She lives with little joy or fear, over the water running near, the sheep bell tinkles in her ear, before her hangs a mirror clear, reflecting toward Camelot. And as the mazy web she whirls, she sees the surly village churls, and the red cloaks of market girls pass onward from Shalott.
Sometimes a troop of damsels glad, an abbot on an ambling pad, sometimes a curly shepherd lad, or long-haired page in crimson clad, goes by to towered Camelot. And sometimes through the mirror blue, the knights come riding 2 and 2. She hath no loyal knight and true, the Lady of Shalott.
But in her web she still delights to weave the mirror's magic sights, for often through the silent nights a funeral with plumes and lights and music came from Camelot, or when the moon was overhead came 2 young lovers lately wed. I'm half sick of the shadows, said the Lady of Shalott.
A bow shot from her bower eaves, he rode between the barley sheaves. The sun came dazzling through the leaves, and flamed upon the brazen greaves of bold Sir Lancelot. A Red Cross knight for ever kneeled to a lady in his shield, that sparkled on the yellow field beside remote Shalott.
The gemmy bridle glittered free, like to some branch of stars we see. Hung in the golden galaxy, the bridal bells rang merrily as he rode down from Camelot. And from his blazoned baldric slung a mighty silver bugle hung, and as he rode his armour rung beside remote Shalott.
All in the blue and clouded weather, thick jewelled shone and saddled leather. The helmet and the helmet feather burned like one burning flame together, as he rode down from Camelot, as often through the purple night, below the starry clusters bright, some bearded meteor, trailing light, moves over green Shalott.
His broad clear brow in sunlight glowed, on burnished hooves his war-horse trode. From underneath his helmet flowed his coal-black curls as on he rode, as he rode down from Camelot. From the bank and from the river he flashed into the crystal mirror. Tiralira, tiralira, sang Sir Lancelot.
She left the web, she left the loom. She made 3 paces thro' the room. She saw the water flower bloom. She saw the helmet and the plume. She looked down to Camelot. Out flew the web and floated wide. The mirror cracked from side to side. The curse is come upon me, cried the Lady of Shalott.
In the stormy east wind straining, the pale yellow woods were waning, the broad stream in his banks complaining, heavily the low sky raining, over towered Camelot. Outside the isle a shallow boat, beneath a willow lay afloat. Below the carven stern she wrote, the Lady of Shalott.
A cloud-white crown of pearl she dight, all ramented in snowy white, that loosely flew, her zone in sight, clasped with one blinding diamond bright, her wide eyes fixed on Camelot. Through the squally east wind keenly, blew with folded arms serenely. By the water stood the queenly Lady of Shalott.
With a steady stony glance, like some bold seer in a trance, beholding all his own mischance, mute with a glassy countenance, she looked down to Camelot. It was the closing of the day. She loosed the chain and down she lay. The broad stream bore her far away, the Lady of Shalott.
As when to sailors, while they roam by creeks and outfalls far from home, rising and dropping with the foam, from dying swans wild warblings come, blown shoreward, so to Camelot. Still as the boat had wound along the willowy hills and fields among, they heard her chanting her death song, the Lady of Shalott.
A long-drawn carol, mournful, holy, she chanted loudly, chanted lowly, till her eyes were dark and holy, and her smooth face sharp and slowly turned to towered Camelot. For ere she reached upon the tide, the first house by the waterside, singing in her song she died, the Lady of Shalott.
Under tower and balcony, by garden wall and gallery, a pale, pale corpse she floated by, dead cold between the houses high, dead into towered Camelot. Knight and burgher, lord and dame, to the planked wharfage came. Below the stern they read her name, the Lady of Shalott.
They crossed themselves, their stars they blessed. Knight, minstrel, abbot, squire, and guest. There lay a parchment on her breast that puzzled more than all the rest, the well-fed wits at Camelot. The web was woven curiously, the charm is broken utterly. Draw near and fear not, this is I, the Lady of Shalott.
But who was the Lady of Shalott? This exact poem was actually written in the 19th century by an English poet named Alfred Tennyson, or First Baron Tennyson. Tennyson was the poet laureate through most of Queen Victoria's reign. Laureateship is an honorary position with no official duties or privileges. It really just amounted to being someone the monarchy could and would commission personally to write for specific occasions, and his poem about the Lady of Shalott is one of his best-known pieces. Tennyson actually wrote two versions of the poem, both published in the 1800s, but these are based on a 13th century Italian short prose, Donna di Scalotta. The poem is a tragic tale about Elaine of Shalott, a young noblewoman stranded in a tower up the river from Camelot. Most well-known versions of Elaine's story actually appear in the 1485 book Le Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory, but she's often confused by storytellers with Elaine of Corbinac, the mother of Galahad, and this is because of Corbinac's connection to Lancelot being Galahad's father. In Malory's telling, Elaine's episode begins when her father Bernard, the Lord of Shalott, organizes a tournament attended by King Arthur and his knights. Sir Lancelot was not originally planning to attend. He is persuaded otherwise and visits Bernard and his two sons before the tournament. While Lancelot is in her family's household, Elaine becomes enamored with him and begs him to wear her token at the coming tournament. Explaining that Queen Guinevere would be at the tournament, he consents to wear the token but says that he will have to fight in disguise so as not to be recognized. He asks Bernard if he can leave his recognizable shield with him and borrow another. Bernard agrees and lends him the plain white shield of Sir Tor, Elaine's brother. Lancelot goes on to win the jousting tournament, still in disguise, fighting against King Arthur's party and beating 40 of them in the tournament. He does, however, receive an injury on his side from Sir Bors' lance and is carried off the field by Elaine's other brother, Sir Lavaine. In the hermit Sir Bodwin's cave, Bodwin being a former knight of the Round Table himself, Elaine then urges her father to let her bring the wounded Lancelot to her chambers where she nurses him. When Lancelot is well, he makes ready to leave and offers to pay Elaine for her services. Insulted, Elaine brings him his shield which she had been guarding, and a wary Lancelot leaves the castle, never to return, but now aware of her feelings for him. 10 days later, Elaine dies of heartbreak. In accordance with her instructions, her body is placed in a small boat, clutching a lily in one hand and her final letter in the other. She then floats down the river to Camelot, where she is discovered by King Arthur's court, who call her a little lily maiden. Lancelot is summoned and hears the contents of the letter, which explains what happened. Ashamed, he pays for her rich burial. Here we have Shallott's rendition of Martin and Madeline reading together. This was a very open-ended piece that, when I first approached it, I realized I was not ready to tackle the level of detail, and I actually ended up redoing parts of it between then and the finished piece. Actually, this is the first piece we ever did with Shalott, and so I thought it was rather poetic to use the Lady of Shalott as the poem the two of them would be reading. The stanzas are delivered in contrast by our voice talents Neil Hardy, who voices Martin, and Kiara Rhodes as Madeline. I think the effort the two of them put into these characters highlights perfectly in this piece, because Martin's quicker measure is more indicative of him reading from the book, while Madeline's slower countenance seems more to me like someone reciting the pages from memory. Art for this week was by Shalott on Fiverr. I'll put a link to their business down in the description so you can commission a great artwork like this from him personally. His realistic pieces are just the best, and it really helps bring our story to life. Art for this channel wouldn't even be possible, however, without the help of our patrons. Monetization on YouTube is not enough to keep us going, so please follow the Patreon link down in the description to help Tales of Atonement keep going long term. We have a lot left to do and a big story to tell, and we simply can't do it without your help. Besides, there's a ton of extras only available on Patreon that won't be available for months on YouTube, if ever. Some of our great patrons include Pammy Poo, Shadow Fox, Arya Gamari, Charles Tam, Jace Moreland, and Lunder Lumen. Thank you all for watching and supporting our story.